Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I've decided to do a Bujo update and show you 2018 to 2019, some design updates, reasons why I'm switching from a moleskin to a Leuchtturm, and size difference, and what I do to prep for 2019, and kind of how I started. Okay guys, so first, the reason why I wanted to do this video is because I had just received this book, this notebook, the famous, I guess, bullet journal notebook, the Leuchtturm 1917 book, just yesterday, and I was up until like 3 a.m. just kind of designing and figuring out the layout of everything, and then I was gonna do kind of like the sketch out and everything today, and then I decided, you know what, I think I know enough from 2018 to make a video and show you guys my process and my thinking and kind of how I just started from scratch. So first things first, I wanted to explain why I chose this pen pack for 2018. This was not only a really good bundle for 6 pens that were all different colors, but it came in this plastic case. That was a bonus so that I could travel with it, because I knew I was going to do a lot of traveling or moving around. But also, if you know anything about these pens, you know that these are dry safe, meaning that if I accidentally left one of the caps open on a pen, that it wouldn't dry out. And they say, or they advertise, that you could actually leave one of these open for days and that it won't ever dry out. So that's really cool. So that was a benefit for me, but also these were fine liners, so it would be really easy to draw really thin, simple lines, kind of clean up the design of my layout. And hopefully this will help you guys who were kind of like me, who didn't know what bujoing was or how to create a bullet journal from scratch and not just follow someone like Amanda Rach Lee, who is a goddess at this type of thing, and kind of give you an idea of what to do if you can't draw. The initial look of my 2018 Bujo, actually, I didn't really plan how this was going to look. I can't remember when I actually put all of these on there. I know it had to be probably, I want to say January, like mid-January. I didn't have this idea like set up like everything else. I set up all of the design and pages 2017, probably the beginning of September, because I was really worried that I wasn't going to have enough time. I don't do the design the way that Amanda Rach Lee does, where she kind of just structures everything by week. I really wanted everything to be pre-done, kind of like if I went to the store and I just purchased a schedule. So I gave myself about 4 months to decide, and it literally was perfect. I just finished the December spread in the nick of time as December 2017 was ending, so it was perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna show you the layout that I did for October 2018, just so you guys can get the gist of how January to December looks. I wanted something simple, something really pretty and cute, but I didn't realize that design-wise, if you add kind of like thick cardstock papers to every design cover for the introduction for the next month, that it would stack up pretty thick. I actually did a couple pages where the edges of the week looked like that. I don't know if you can see that very well, but these are also cardstock, and as cute as it was, it added so much bulk to the top that the bottom was so thin and it was like lopsided, so I had to rip some of them out. So I will explain what I'm doing with this one and how I'm changing things specifically, and that is one of them. To physically just draw everything out like this instead of trying to print things out, maybe add some washi tape here and there, because that's pretty thin. But cardstock is a no-go unless you want kind of the design like this, where it's really big and like crinkled and bulky and everything. So I really enjoyed, this is the extra large Moleskine, and it's in the grid. I really enjoyed the grid. It was super easy to count blocks. That is how everything is so perfect structurally wise. And that is how I was able to kind of keep my mind sane for my first Bujo, because there was so much work that I put into this, so many mistakes that I made that I thank God I did it in pencil first. That's why I started in September of 2017, because I did the entire book, kid you not, the entire book in pencil first, and then went back and did everything in the pens that I showed you earlier, which is great because they were easy to work with. So the next thing are my habit trackers and my clean room tracker. I really didn't know what to put down, but I just figured anything that I do, I'll start with that and then kind of work my way from, well, I don't really need to track that, to, oh, I should probably track that. And I'll show you how I made my list of what to continue doing, what to leave behind, and what to add. Next, this was the layout for the entire planner. I know I started out with this kind of blue, not very festive or holiday enthused design, but I don't think October should just be all orange. I think it should kind of have some tasteful, colors that complement orange. So I figured that this blue would really go pretty with the orange rustic colors. And then I'll show you, I think I have another picture. Yeah, so it's more like fall based instead of just pumpkins and Halloween themed stuff. So I went from stuff like that, where it was straight up full design and cardstock paper, to really putting more effort and not being scared in making mistakes into the design, and just trying to have it as drawn out as possible to thin out the rest of the book. And I can't remember when I started that, but I think it was August that I started doing stuff like this, where I drew out like a quote or a saying that I really liked, or I'll show you in the next ones, like word definitions that I really loved, and then just kind of finding a cute corresponding picture to go with it. Also, another thing I really should mention is I start all my weeks out on a Sunday. That is just how I've done it for my entire life, even with a school schedule. So that is kind of why there's like this little break here, because even though Monday the 1st of October, and this is still technically September, I really wanted everything to still be consistent with Sunday to Saturday. So what I would do is, if this was the next month, which it was, I would just put the month in the block and kind of move these two that were supposed to be here just one over. And then it kind of corresponded with, I think November starts right here, and then it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. So that was one thing that I will keep and move to the next planner. So this week, there isn't a picture. I really liked this design. I found this, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that, but I found this definition and I really liked it. And I ended up finding this really cute idea to put both definitions. This is kind of like the perfect spread, if you will, because there's no pictures or stickers or printouts. It's just me drawing it out, and it really helps with the bulk of the entire book. So again, switched between a picture and no picture, and this one has a picture, and that one also has a definition to it. Again, a definition without a picture, just kind of enjoying no design. Okay, and then November, I had such a struggle with because my mom actually ended up helping me find this super thin scrapbooking paper. But before, it was something like October, where it was this really thick cardstocky bulk paper. And I don't know what the idea was, but this used to be like a really weird red color, and it had the same black, same this right here. It's actually kind of crinkled right here because I was removing it with the tape underneath to put this paper, and this ended up looking so much better. Black and white, you can never go wrong. So that is always a good idea, is to get really thin scrapbooking paper if you want to do something where each cover has a different design and you want something to kind of match, because usually when you buy scrapbook paper, it all kind of matches and correlates together so that the scrapbook design matches. So if you did like a solid or a print, it would all look, you know, aesthetic. So that's also a good idea for beginners if you want it to look aesthetic without really putting that much effort into it, or if you're worried about the design and you think you're not going to like it halfway through the year. That was my biggest thinking, is, oh man, you know, how can I structure this out throughout the year and not kick myself because I figured out a better way halfway through the year to make it look prettier. So the reason why I didn't do that is obviously because by the time I figured that out, it was November. But the reason why I didn't think of that is because I really wanted each month to have its own individual style and individual kind of shock factor. I'll show you May. May was one of the ones that I really loved. Well, here's June, actually. And June, I'm always going to put in green because it's kind of my insignia that it's halfway through the year already. So kind of get with the program if I've been slacking on things. And that's another HP Sprocket idea. May was actually one of my favorite spreads that I had done in a creative sense, because this, and this, obviously these two, but this one as well, was actually all cut from a magazine. And I found them in my desk in my room, and I thought, wow, these really all kind of go together. And then I ended up finding this really pretty cardstock sparkly paper that matched my washi tape, and I kind of just threw it all together, and it ended up looking really, really good. And I don't know why I put it for May. Usually May is more of like pastel colors, but it just felt appropriate. And it felt like if I don't do it this month, no other month will be appropriate, because every other month has something else that comes to mind when I think of that month. So that ended up being one of my favorite spreads that I did, that I kind of don't regret. The other ones I kind of do because they're a little bit thicker. This one just has a little bit of thickness on the edge, but I just loved it. And that will forever be one of my favorite spreads that I did. Also, another thing I forgot to mention, I really enjoyed following how many weeks there were out of the year during my weekly spread. So I will be doing that again. I should make a note of that. But I really did enjoy this, following up on the weeks throughout the year. And then continuing on after the last day of December, I just quickly wrote out the year overview. And now the reason why I didn't show you 2018, because I have this same exact spread for 2018 in the front of the book, is because in these spaces right here, I would write down very personal, very kind of big milestones of that month, so that when I looked at the year overview, I didn't just see, oh, that October 1st was on a Tuesday. You know, I saw, you know, this happened the month of January, this happened in February. You guys, I have so many TV shows. I don't know how, but I have so many TV shows that I catch up on. For instance, these three, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, and Supergirl. I had really dropped the ball on catching up with all those TV shows. I'm definitely a CW girl. As you can see, I have Black Lightning, Jane the Virgin, Arrow, Riverdale, and I really, really love the CW, so it was really hard to keep up. I started Arrow from the beginning, from the pilot, so watching Arrow was kind of getting difficult without watching The Flash or Legends of Tomorrow and Supergirl, because they would do so many collabs, so I kind of just got hooked on all of them. And then I started Black Lightning because I figured if these four ended up doing collabs, what's stopping them from entering the Supergirl, Flash World, and Arrow, and Legends of Tomorrow and such. And on top of that, Legends of Tomorrow was a collaboration of all these other shows. So took my favorite characters out of these shows, but then threw it into another show. So I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'll explain why. These are orange. That one's not highlighted yet. My younger sister had a purple highlighter, so I used that, as you can see up here. If I completed the TV show, then I would highlight it, so I know that I have to wait till next season. So I have to do that with NCIS LA and with Supergirl, but that one's going to be orange, and I'll explain why. Imposters and Siren. So, and sadly, LA to Vegas was canceled, so I just put above it that it was canceled. And then I didn't know this, but actually Once Upon a Time season 7 was the last season. So and they had announced that in the beginning, but I just didn't understand until the 22nd episode. Silly me. So I just put last season, the same way I put canceled. So now the reason why these are orange, and this one is supposed to be orange, and these are purple, is because these are all TV shows that I watch on like cable, like the actual TV, and these are the ones that I had written out premature, and I actually caught up on Netflix. So when I show you the Netflix spread that I have, which, yes, believe it or not, I catch up on TV shows there too, as if I have the time. So these were supposed to be in the Netflix pile, but I wrote them out because I didn't think I was going to have all these TV shows, especially The Alienist. Obsessed. It's amazing. And then I actually forgot about Imposters because it had just been so long since I'd seen the first season. And then Siren as well was a new TV show that I added. So I just started, if I found any other TV shows that I would become obsessed with, then I would put them here. And then this was kind of, I don't know if you can see the colors, if it'll pick it up, but I actually ended up color coding when the TV show would start. So if I mentioned during the week that, Jane the Virgin was on, I could look and see that it was a blue dot, and then I would go over here and say, okay, blue represents 9 o'clock. So then I would know at 9 o'clock, get ready because it's going to go down with Jane the Virgin. So over here is my movie tracker, and I really wanted to track what kind of movies I was watching throughout the year, and if I had seen movies that were technically older, I wanted to know how long it took for me to actually have access to watch them or the time to watch them. I really just wanted to see, where I was with that, but as you can see, none of this got filled out. It was just kind of annoying, to be honest, even though the design is actually really cute. I ended up just writing it in the week that I saw the movie. So that is being vetoed into this book, into that one. Books and quotes as well are going to be gone. They're still in pencil, which means that when I wrote it out in September, I haven't touched it since. So sadly, those are going as well. And then my future goals and forget-me-nots. This was supposed to be an important page, and it ended up not. Hey guys, okay, so something happened to the audio. So I have to reiterate what I was saying before. I'm outside, and the pool filter is running, but it's also raining, and it's beautiful outside, so I figured I'd come outside. But basically what I was saying is I had a spread for gift ideas, so I covered it up because it's really personal, but basically I would just write their name and kind of put like right under here, like a little slant, so that I could put the date that I bought it for them, and then I color coded what the event was and why I bought it. So say if I bought it for Christmas, say Christmas 2018, I would write it an 18 with red pen, and I would know that the reason why I bought them that gift is for Christmas 2018. Same thing goes for just because, birthdays, or special occasions. And then this is what I was saying before with the orange highlighter. Like I said, I prematurely wrote it. Like I said before, I prematurely wrote it in my TV shows, and I thought I was going to be able to catch up, but I didn't. So I just highlighted it in orange to let myself know that I watched it on Netflix. And this is great right here. I'm actually catching up on the night shift right now, but I'm really glad that I didn't write anything in yet because I'm already on season 3. But normally when I'm binge watching something, I just watch it until the end, like the last season, and then I'll write it all in. And I'm really happy that I did that because I want you to see how I structured everything. This is how I make sure that everything fits, especially since I started picking up TV shows that I didn't think I was going to want to watch, or that I was really bored and decided to give it a try and it ended up being really amazing. So I would just lay out and structure everything ahead of time in pencil. And I know you can see some kind of the marks of my erasing. I figured out that it was getting really aggravating writing everything out. So I just did the first episode to the last episode. And surprisingly, the night shift has really short seasons, which is probably why I'm already on season 3. As you can see, there's only 8 episodes in the first season, but this became really helpful, especially laying everything out for the CW TV shows that I was trying to catch up on, especially with multiple seasons. So just as a pro tip, that's what I'm going to be doing for 2019, and I will show you how I actually laid that out. So another thing I really wanted to show was kind of my brain dump for what I was bringing over to my new bullet journal from this one, what I was leaving behind, what kind of was the changing factors. And basically this is going to be something that I personally for next year will do throughout the year so that I remember my notes instead of waiting until the end of the year when I'm making another one to go back and remember, well, did I really like this? Did I really utilize it? So just keep that in mind. I would do that throughout the year. And if you want, you can like jot down the date of when you thought that it might not work and see how intuitive you were. But for the trackers, instead of a habit tracker, I changed it to life tracker because I'm doing categories now. So health, hobby, school, and beauty. And then I'm doing cleaning trackers, which is bedroom, bathroom, desk, and laundry. So you see that they all kind of have their own little chopped up sections. When did I last? So from toothbrush to moving photos to the hard drive, or the computer to the hard drive, copying everything. And then back to my key, I made the squares tasks, the circles events, and then the triangles appointments. And if they were reoccurring, I decided to put a little R over it so I know that, oh, every week this is, what my schedule looks like. So over here, from the first page to the last page of the book, these are things that I decided to keep, and then these were things I decided to leave behind. And on this side, these are all the changes to the things I want to keep. And then the rest of the book was my thinking for 2019, but with this same journal. And so this kind of is not a waste because it gave me kind of ideas what I wanted to do. Testing out the pages and the markers and seeing their transparency, their ghosting, the bleed through, and how the marker translated onto the paper, because some of the cap colors looked darker or lighter than when you actually drew it on the page. So that was really nice. But the whole layout that I was testing out here looks drastically different from what I did with the Lightstrom, and that's to be expected because this book is ginormous compared to it. So now that I've updated and taped this whole thing, I will cut back to the original video and hopefully I won't have to reiterate anything else. Okay, so now before I open the book, I'm going to start breaking down why I have these specific supplies and why you should too when you start your bullet journal, especially for beginners that don't really know what to do or how to do it, that are nervous like I was when creating your first bullet journal. So obviously a pencil, you want a pencil, an eraser, and some refillable lead cartridges, or refillable lead. But this guy right here, the sticky note, that is going to be your best friend. This is really thin because I used it yesterday, and I'll show you what I mean inside. But these are going to be your best friend because this, you can write down your notes and you can put it on the page you think you're going to want to design everything out. But then when you figure out that you made a mistake, you, instead of erasing and kind of having the chance of tearing the page, depending on how, fast or how hard you wrote on the paper, you can actually just take the sticky note and remove it. So let me crack this book open and show you what I'm talking about. And just real quick before I open it, let me explain. So I was thinking about buying a pen loop from the Leuchtturm company, but then I think I discovered that you can't remove it. I found this magnetic page marker, and basically what I did is I just super glued a piece of elastic. So I don't know, let me see here. So, I mean, it literally, I didn't turn the edge over or anything. I just literally super glued and then put a little bit of the glue on the edge so it wouldn't fray. And it is slightly bulky just because it is a magnet. So it is a little bulkier than how the Leuchtturm like official pen loop would sit in the book. But what I really liked about this is I could put it through any thickness of the book, and I can reuse it for next year should I really enjoy it. So just a little DIY. It was like, I think $1 for 6 of them at Walmart, and you just add a little elastic with some super glue and you've got your own pen loop. Moving on to the book and how I structured everything. I already put my information. That's the first thing that I did, is put name, phone number, and email. And then I decided that the same picture that I had in the middle of my 2018 book, I wanted it to be right here. So it was my name and my face. And then opening the book, that was what I forgot to show you in my 2018 spread, but this was the first thing that you're going to see. 3s have a big symbolism for me, and God really talks me through the number 3. So it's kind of just me saying, God, you have my planner, you have my year, plan it out for me because I have no idea what I'm doing. Then it goes to the key, and like I said, something that I'm adding. So I would structure everything out how it was, and then I would add another sticky note to add more details. And then the design wise would come when I was actually starting to write it out, because then I would start counting squares to center everything on the page. Something I found on Pinterest, it's called 10 Ways to Love, and basically just has scriptures on how to love people, because sometimes it gets a little hard to remember that, especially with things that happened in 2018. I think bringing that into 2019 will be really positive. So my stickies page, the reason why I didn't show you in 2018, it was actually a double spread, which was amazing because the book was way bigger than this one. But again, that had personal information that if I just blurted out would cover the entire page. So my stickies is basically just taking sticky notes like this with a quick thought or an idea and just sticking it down and just having it's kind of like a cork board, but for a bullet journal, basically. Yeah, basically. So gift ideas, I decided that all the stuff that I'd put in the back, like quotes and books, all of that stuff, well, I'm not bringing those. So like TV shows or gift ideas, anything that was pushed to the back, I actually want to put in the front, and then the back just be the bullet journal itself, or the schedule itself. So like I said, I'm putting my TV show trackers up in the front. So this is going to be a double spread just because I had so many TV shows, and because the size difference, I can't just do one page anymore. I'm going to do two, and that should be pretty simple because I think it only takes about maybe 3 or 4 of these squares to create an area or a block out for one of the TV shows. So if I make the top design a little bit smaller than usual, then I'll have plenty of space for all the TV shows that I've been watching. And again, putting Netflix together with TV, that's what I originally wanted to do. And if it was in the moleskin, the extra large moleskin, they would have been side by side. But I like this layout. I'm excited. The reason why I switched to this size is because lugging that extra large moleskin around when I'm not carrying a school backpack with me was extremely difficult, and most of the time it's just me and my purse. So trying to fit that in my purse was extremely difficult, and I was so worried because there was so much personal information in it that I was going to lose it. So either it went in my bag or it stayed home, and most of the time it stayed home again unless I had a bigger bag. So then, again, when did I last? I think I explained that a little bit in my other book. I'm putting my yearly mood tracker and my menstrual cycle, which I named Bloody Hell. So these, I was really thinking about making them monthly trackers, but I found a really simple, like skinny layout of a yearly tracker for this size, and I enjoyed it so much, and I loved the idea so much that I decided to stick with the yearly ones, and it would kind of minimize not only the work that you'd have to put into each month, because I'm already doing the cleaning trackers for each month and the habit trackers. So I didn't want to add another tracker or another 2 trackers to each month, and it would add to the bulkiness of every month, and that could minimize the creativity. So I didn't want to do that, even though there's a lot of pages in this Lloydstrom that don't come in the moleskin. I still didn't want to hinder the idea of my creativity should I need the extra pages. So going to the next one, this is going to be the year overview. So what I did for 2018, I'm going to do for 2019. But this time, because the pages are shorter and smaller, I decided that I'm going to put the entire year here back to back like that. And then I'm just going to block out each square and just make it empty. And this was where I will write the events instead of right underneath the way I did with the Lloydstrom. And then I decided that I'm going to highlight the seasons in just like a really pretty kind of pastel light color, just so I can understand, when spring begins and ends, summer, fall, winter, that type of thing. Because if you live in Arizona, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's either hot or it's not. So I definitely miss, I was born and raised in Chicago, so I definitely miss seeing the leaves turn orange, red, from a vibrant green color, and then seeing the bare trees when it's winter. So this is kind of a little home nostalgic for me. And then moving on to the next page. This is where the monthly overview will be. So where you just look at, so say if this was January, it would just say January and it would show the month in an overview. And then this side would just be the design. So the way that October was laid out, that blue design with the washi tape and then the monthly overview layout, that's what's going to be here. So I'm changing Habit Tracker to Life Tracker. It's less letters, but it's also just more accurate with me adding school. School isn't a habit, it's just part of my life. And then Cleaning Tracker goes beyond cleaning my room. So I just put Cleaning Tracker instead of Clean Room Tracker. And then the next page starts the weekly overview. These little numbers and arrows are how many blocks it is to making the page equal in size and dimensions. So for the Leutstrom, it's 26 blocks across and 37 blocks down, and halving them, splitting like halving them, is 13 across and 18 and a half all the way down. So this is going to be my weekly tracker, and basically what I do, the reason why sticky notes are so amazing is, like I said in the beginning, I'm going to use this entire, I'm going to use this sticky note for the entire book. So that's why it doesn't say January, it just says weekly overview, because then when I'm done, when all of this has been written out and January is completed, all I do is just move the sticky notes down for the next month. So this is what February is going to look like. This is what March is going to look like. This is what all of them are going to look like before they're all written out. And just know that if January looks jank, if it looks like you didn't put a lot of time and effort into it, that's totally okay. January ended up being kind of like my test month to see what designs I was going to like, what I wasn't, what was the easiest to draw out. And so that one looks a little different other than the rest. And that's totally okay because it was my first Bujo. So if you're just starting out, let January kind of be your messed up month, if you will, because it's the first one and it's kind of like the tester or the learning curve, if you will. Kind of mid-year, you should kind of figure out what you want to do. But there's nothing wrong with a little testing and a little trial and error. So just keep that in mind. So now I want to go to the back here. And by the way, this is where all the sticky notes will go for next year. I didn't show that for 2018, but if you looked in the back of my moleskin, you would see a bunch of sticky notes covering the back because that's literally safekeeping throughout the entire year for the next book should I continue with that size. And sadly I didn't, but should I like the Leutstrom size, then I'll have all the same information and then I can kind of critique, and it's easier to critique when you have all your old notes. So just a design thought as well. But this is what my weekly spread is going to look like. I decided to open up the blocks, and it doesn't give me a lot of space for creativeness or for design purposes, as in like pictures or definitions. But I'm thinking if I move January and the week tracker up here, then I'll just have a little bit more space down here just for a little design, just for a little uniqueness to the page, a little added touch to it. And then I know that on Pinterest they show like people drawing like in the corners here and up here in this corner as well, or like mid-page where it's kind of dead space where you can't write. So that's also a good idea that I'll be kind of dabbling in as I start structuring out everything. So this is what I'm talking about when I'm testing out the monthly overviews. I thought that I wanted something like this, and maybe I'll find the picture that I found on Pinterest, but it was so cute where they had just halved it and just put dots. They just marked where the dots were in the dotted page, and it was really cute. And it originally was a circle, but I wanted a square instead, so that was me counting and trying to figure out, because there's an odd amount of numbers here, so I had to figure out where I wanted the square. And then over here, this is actually the same size as the monthly overview in the moleskin. It's exactly, believe it or not, the same width, but that just shows you that there was like that much extra room on the top, bottom, and side. And then this page got a little interesting. So this is just, I'm just trying to show you where my thought process was. Not everything has to look perfect, just as long as you know what it looks like and what it's supposed to look like. I think that any back pages can look messy, and you just recognize what's current notes and what's not. For instance, this is a current note. This 9 is a current note. These 3s and the 8 up here that is over the W, that's a current note. And then this block right here, and then these numbers here and these numbers here, those are these letters here, that is all current. Really excited for this year, this next upcoming year, 2019. I think it's going to have a lot of new traveling and just a lot more fun events to go to. So I'm really excited to have all of this laid out. And I'm really kind of excited to see how well I'm going to do without just printing out pictures, and to see how I'm going to draw everything out. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'm really excited for this year. I'm really excited for the new book, for the new layout, for the new sizing. And just remember that if this is your first bullet journal, take time with yourself. Everyone has a learning curve, and the more you do, the more you know. And I guarantee you that from January, when you feel like you are nervous and you don't know anything and you just, you don't want to waste time or a really good notebook, by December, you will be more confident. So just stick with it, keep going, and remember, sticky notes. So altogether, I think that this book is going to be fun to design. I'm really excited that it's not only dotted, because this one was squared, but it's smaller and I'll be able to travel with it a little bit easier. And it has 2 notebook bookmarks instead of 1 like the Moleskine, so I'll be able to easily flip to more pages than I was last time. And I'll be able to have a color too. That was also another thing. The Moleskine didn't really have a good color choice in the extra large hardcover. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was a good kind of run through and explanation of 2018 and the exciting designs for 2019. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.